quilters, welcome back to the quilt along. Today's block is a tedious one. It is called the Premium Star, and it's going to use a purple, a dark purple, a pink, and a white. Because of the dimensions of this block, we're going to do this a little bit different. I've measured out my pieces, and when you download the template, these are going to measure a smidge smaller than 1 1/8, so you may not want to even use the templates and just go by my instruction. I'm going to firmly make these 1 1/8, so pieces A and B are going to be from strips that are cut 1 1/8. For the half square triangles that we're going to be making, you're going to need to make 24 of the dark purple and the white. And you are also going to go ahead and cut out 4 of the white pieces from your white strip. Of course, you're going to sew your half square triangles, and you're going to go ahead and trim them to 1 1/8. This will affect the rest of the block, so the squares are not going to be what they are measuring on the templates. We are going to go ahead and cut our E piece. Go ahead and cut it 2 3/8, and it will get trimmed down. I've cut this one about 2 and I don't know, a 1/16 more than a quarter. It could stand to be just a little bit bigger than that. And then to lay this out after you sew your half square triangles, they are going to lay out like this. And you're going to use 6 per segment. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew 3 of these together, and then I'm going to sew this set of 4 together. Okay, now our other piece of purple, which I'm using this chevron as this purple, you are going to sew it to the strip, and then we're going to come in and we're going to trim this to fit the strip. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to eliminate us losing our points, because we have blocks that measure funny on the ruler, and because we sometimes don't have those markings on our ruler, we're going to abandon making that measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this on here, and then we'll trim. All right, it's overhanging on both sides. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and press towards the square. And now I need to trim up this side. And I'm not going to worry about this side because we're not ready to sew it. So how do you line this up? Provided that you did not get wonky on this, which I'm using my edge here and my edge here, and it lines up. I might have got a little wonky there. I'm going to go ahead and trim this. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew this piece onto here. And I'm going to go ahead, and when you press this, you're going to press all of these this way towards the bow tie, and then all of these you will press up. All right, so I'm pressing this towards the square, and I have been spinning my seams, but it seems like all the bulk will end up here, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give this a good press, and then we're going to trim. All right, I have pressed this very good, and I'm going to come in, and I am going to line up my lines. So I'm going to line up this line and this line. And then I'm going to trim this excess off. This edge will also need to be trimmed, although I cut my piece too short and it's just enough. So you're gonna now trim up and make this a square, and I would go ahead and make it a 3-inch square. And yes, it's gonna be wonky. Okay, and now because I know this is 3 inches and this is 3 inches, then I know that my piece C, what it needs to measure. This will measure 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut that 1.5, and this is gonna be cut from the pink. Okay, so here I have my 1.5 inch strip and my 3-inch block. I'm going to join this like so, and I'm gonna sew this, and I'm gonna let it overhang on each edge. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna press this to the pink, and then I'm gonna line up my raw edges and I'm gonna trim. And again, we want to measure and make sure this is at 3 inches. And I'm gonna, this is 3, and then this will go along one of the lines on your ruler. And then I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna do the same thing here. Now let's take a measurement. 1, 2, 3. This is 4 inches minus 1/4 inch, so this is 3 3/4 inches plus 2. It will measure correctly. So I'm going to sew these 2 segments onto the strip. All right, again, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to press it towards the pink. Now this should measure 6.5 inches. And it does. So we've got almost half of this block done. I know now that this measures, this piece C, you can go ahead and cut that at 1.5 inches. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of those, but I'm gonna leave them longer. I'm not gonna cut them to the 3 inches that are these blocks. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave them long so that I can trim them up so that I don't lose any of my points, because this is a lot of work to you lose your points. Also, I'm going to cut a 1.5 inch square of this darker purple, because I know that is finite. I know that's going to be 1.5 inch square. So I'm going to go ahead, and that is piece D. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Let's go over this one more time. So here I have a scrap piece of fabric that is chunky. It's bigger than 2 1/4, and originally this was going to be a smidge bigger than 2 1/4. I think it would end up being 2 3/8, which is great because at this end I'm going to have plenty left over. I'm going to go ahead and sew this to here. And I'm going to make sure that that lines up the whole way when I sew it. And I'm going to have leftover on each side so I can trim it down. All right, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to press towards the big square. And then I'm going to line this up with my ruler. I'm going to trim. looks like that trimmed crooked. Let me try that again. Yep, it did. There. Just a sliver makes a difference. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join this other row to my square. And I'm going to make sure that this is all true, and then I'm going to sew and press towards the square. I'm going to give this a press. And now I'm going to come, and this should measure 3 inches. Yay. All right. I have another piece done. I'm going to go ahead and make my last piece, and I'm going to join these just as I joined the first two, where I have this piece and I cut it to size. Could you cut it to 3 inches now? Yes, but I would rather you trim on the pieces that it's not going to matter whenever we go to finish this block out and we trim it out. Okay, we are at the final assembly. You're going to sew your purple and your pinks together, and you're going to press, since you press these in, you're going to press those out. Okay, and now we're going to nest our seams, and we're going to join our pieces together. And if we've done this right, it'll measure 6.5 inches. Okay, and again, I'm going to press this to the pink. And then give it a good press at the iron. All right. And success. I have nothing to trim because I've trimmed all along the way. There may be a couple spots like here where it's maybe just a couple threads missing, but that'll get lost in the seam allowance. I did have to replace one of the HSTs that I made because there was too much white interfering. I'm happy with the white that's on there now. This was a very, very time-consuming block, but if you take your time and go easy with it, it'll be perfect. Thanks for watching.